Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to address all of the craziness that has been going on for the last few days. So, as you may or may not know, astrologically, Chiron has been as close to Earth as it gets all year. And Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Okay. And Chiron happens to be in retrograde, which means it gives us an opportunity to look back at those ways that we were wounded and be able to heal through those things. So, one of the things that I find very interesting with my clients is many of my clients will show up for me, and it's almost as if they feel like there's something wrong with them or that there's something broken in them that they need my help in fixing. And the truth of the matter is, none of us are broken. We've just had these experiences that have happened in our lives. And based on when those experiences happened in our lives, we made up whatever it is that we made up about those things. And that's where our fears and our doubts and our limiting beliefs came from. And those things really keep us from being able to experience our true essence, right? When we're sucked into those fears and doubts and limiting beliefs, it's like we totally forget the magnificence of who we are. And so today, I would like to just take a few minutes and take you through a little process that I will take my clients through when something really big and emotional is coming up and they're ready to finally work through it and figure out where in the heck did that even come from? Like, what did happen that makes me feel this way? Have you ever found yourself reacting to something and like it's almost like you're watching yourself from outside your body going, why am I getting so wrapped around the axle? This really isn't such a big deal. But it's almost like you can't stop yourself, right? And that's because that little wounded child deep within you is finally having a chance to have their voice heard, right? So part of our healing work is actually going back and helping that little child within us to heal so that they don't feel like they have to be reacting to things that are going on outside of them. Okay, so one of the things that's really important whenever we're going to work on anything that we're healing is to just like get ourselves into like a really comfortable space, right? So you want to be where you're not going to be interrupted. So you might want to turn your phone off, shut down the email, like just create kind of a sacred space for yourself, whatever that means to you. For some people, it might just be, quietly sitting on their couch by themselves. For other people, it might mean lighting a candle, lighting some incense, using some essential oils, just those things that make them feel like they're in their own little sacred space, their own little bubble of pink light, so to speak. So create that kind of a space for you because, when we're doing our emotional work, our ego wants to make us think, oh my gosh, this is going to be scary. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot. Like, I don't even know if you can do this, right? Because the ego is always trying to keep us small and keep us in fear and doubt, right? So don't listen to that voice. Listen to the voice that's telling you, you got this. Like, there's no reason for you to suffer. And let your soul lead you to that place where you can remove those blocks to love's awareness. Okay. So we create our little sacred space, our little, our safe bubble. Okay. And then what you're going to do is like just bring up very present in the moment what it is that you've been feeling. Okay. So some people may have had like swells of anger coming up. Other people's might have had swells of fear coming up, or swells of worry, or whatever it might be. Okay. So just whatever it is that motion, the emotion is that gets you kind of wrapped around the axle, just allow yourself to think about when was the last time that that emotion came up, and allow yourself to really go into it. Like when that emotion is really truly present for you, how does it feel in your body? Okay. And like just notice like what sensations it starts in your body, or where it feels in your body. So one of my go-to emotions is anger. And so it's interesting because anger used to just fly out of me without any notice, right? And then I started noticing that my anger had a tell, and it would feel like a little burning sensation right above my umbilicus, my belly button, and it would start rising up the center of my body, and I could feel it rising up like this heat. And what I learned is if I could catch it and get control of it before it hit here and came flying out of me, that I could actually choose what I wanted to do with this anger, right? So that's why it's really important to recognize that there actually are physical sensations attached to these emotions, right? So bring your emotion up to your mind's eye and let your body actually feel, and just take mental note of, you might notice a ton of stress and tension in a certain area of your body, or you might feel a pain, or you might feel something changes with your breathing, or something shifts with your heartbeat, or you might suddenly feel whatever it is that you feel somewhere in your body, right? So just notice whatever physical sensations are attached to the emotion. And then once you get very, very clear about the emotion and the physical sensations that are attached to it, then I want you to stop and go back in time and ask yourself, when was the very first time that I had this emotion and this physical sensation combined, right? And allow your mind to scan and take you all the way back to that moment. And then just allow yourself to open the door into that moment and observe whatever it is that occurred in that moment. Now, you're going to be observing this from a place of spiritual observation, right? So you're just being able to be compassionately detached from what's happening, but you're able to remember everything that occurred. You're able to remember what was said or what was done, right? And you're also going to be able to remember what it is that you made up about what was going on in that moment, right? And then based on what this younger version of you made up about what was going on, then of course this emotion was attached to the moment, right? Of course these physical sensations came up in the moment, right? And then once you recognize that this is what happened, this is what I made up about what happened, this is how I felt about what I made up, what was happening. And then you can ask yourself, what did I really want and need in that moment, right? And once you start thinking about what it is that you really wanted and needed, It may be that you just needed somebody to pick you up and give you a hug and tell you that everything was going to be okay. Or it might be that you wanted somebody to, dry your little tears for you and tell you, you know what, you got this, you're going to be okay. Whatever it is that you imagine that you really would have wanted or needed in that moment, I want you to imagine yourself as grown-up version going back in time to younger version you, and give yourself whatever it is you wanted and needed in that moment to feel completely safe and loved. And once you give yourself what you wanted and needed, you're going to find that all of that stuff that you made up about that moment just kind of fades away, right? It no longer has power over you. It's kind of like you've pulled the curtain back and seen that it's just this little old guy, and that big scary wizard was nothing, right? It was just the little man behind the curtain, right? And that's what our fears and our doubts and our limiting beliefs are. They're just the little old guy behind the curtain that's trying to pull the strings and make us feel like we have these valid fears and doubts and limiting beliefs. But it's very interesting, because when you start to look at it objectively and notice, wow, you know what? Every time I have this physical sensation and this emotion combined together, I react like I'm still 6 years old, or I'm still 5 years old, or I'm still 12 years old, right? So it's basically, we made this decision when we were younger that when this happens, we should be scared. When this happens, we should just doubt ourselves. When this happens, we should be fearful, right? When this happens, that's a sign that we aren't capable, right? But that's not true. What's true is probably whoever was involved in the scenario with us way back then, they were probably just having a really bad day. And we ended up being collateral damage, right? They probably never meant to hurt us, but just because of their bad behavior in the moment, we ended up taking it on and allowing ourselves to feel hurt by it, right? So now it's time to set yourself free. And go through this process as often as you need. And it's also nice to feel supported when you're doing your healing work, right? So on the first and third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m., we have a healing circle, which we do by Zoom. And I just love healing circles, because it's those of us who are wounded healers coming together to give and receive love and light, and serve each other and ourselves in our healing process. And if group scenarios aren't really your thing, I'm always available to help you with a one-on-one session. So whatever suits you, whether it's doing your work alone, with a group, or one-on-one, take advantage of this perfect time when the planets are simply aligned for us to be able to do this kind of work with grace and ease, and set yourself free, because you know what? You have so much to offer the world, and the world really needs you right now. So get your work done. And if there's any way that I can support you, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.